Okay, so we are now 3 weeks away from Rogue One. I have officially booked my tickets to see it on the 15th of December. So I'll be seeing it one day early, and I am more than excited for it. And what better way to celebrate that than to talk about the actual backbone of Star Wars and the point where Star Wars was at its prime. The Empire Strikes Back. Surely that would burn my hand, but The Empire Strikes Back. I bloody love this film. Like every other Star Wars fan in the world, this is my favourite Star Wars film of them all. It is such a good movie. And it's not just the best Star Wars movie, it is one of my favourite movies of all time. It's in my top 5, it might even be number 1, but that changes so often that it might not be. But Empire Strikes Back is such a great movie. It doesn't pick up directly after the end of the first Star Wars film because originally the first Star Wars film wasn't planned to be part of a franchise until they started setting up franchises in this film. But this film did it perfectly where some films don't. But I'll talk about the ending of this film more. And if you haven't seen this film, where have you been? But if you haven't seen this film somehow, then this video will contain some pretty heavy spoilers. So if you still are yet to see this film, then go and do it now because I'm disappointed in you. But yeah, I'm just warning you, this video does have major spoilers. But yeah, this movie doesn't pick up directly after the first one. It sort of takes place, I think it's like a couple of years or a year after, because I know that Return of the Jedi takes place 4 years after the first one, and this one must be 4 years then, because anyway, it doesn't really matter, but I'm just saying I think it's 4 years. The beginning of this film, you've got Luke Skywalker is leading the rebels on this secret base they've got on Hoth, which is an ice planet. But peril strikes, and he's attacked by a Wampa, and Han Solo is sent to rescue him, and that sets the course for this movie because the Empire then strikes back, which is where the title of this movie comes from. They attack the rebel base on Hoth. Luke Skywalker leaves to go and train with Yoda on Dagobah to become a Jedi. Meanwhile, Han Solo, Princess Leia, Chewbacca, and C-3PO have to sort of evade Darth Vader and try and escape from his clutches. And that is basically the movie, but it is such a good movie. Again, that plot sounds pretty basic, but so much happens in this film that just can't be explained with just a sort of, a plot description. And that's what I love about this movie. There's so much happening, but there's never too much that's so in your face, and it distracts you from what you're watching because everything that happens is something that's interesting. From the beginning, everything just looks amazing. The whole ice planet of Hoth looks absolutely beautiful, and you've got these AT-AT walkers all running around, and the snow speed's going around their legs and pulling them down, and they're face planting the ground, and it just looks so cool. It's so iconic now. But even when I play EA's Star Wars Battlefront, a lot of people hate that game, but when I play it, it just gives me such nostalgia for that scene in this movie because I love that scene so much, and I love this movie so much. But some of the stuff that Yoda was really irritating in this film, and that's some of the stuff that actually works as well. Like when you've got really irritating characters, especially in Star Wars, like Jar Jar Binks, for example. I'm not comparing Jar Jar Binks to Yoda. I'm just saying when you've got really annoying characters, it distracts you from the film. But in this one, you can tell that he's doing this on purpose to try and get to Luke. And Yoda's character really did interest me because he's trying to teach Luke patience, and he's doing this creepy little laugh, like doesn't sound anything like that, but he's doing this creepy little laugh, and he's really annoying in this film. And you are with Luke, and you feel the frustration with Luke, and it really worked in this film, and it really was great. And Darth Vader in this film is obviously one of the big focuses, and they really focus a lot more on his character because he only had about 12 minutes of screen time in the first one, and he still managed to be a really menacing villain. But in this one, they really focus on him more, and you get the first sort of glimpse of that Imperial March, like the da 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 do 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 do. And this movie is the one that gave us that, and it is just the first time you hear that and see Darth Vader, walk out with his little theme tune, it's like, holy crap, this guy is the coolest character of all time. And that was what really brought this movie up for me as well. This movie also has the introduction of Boba Fett, because whilst Darth Vader is hunting down Han Solo and Leia and Chewbacca, he hires these bounty hunters, and Boba Fett somehow is one of the most loved characters in the series. He's in this film for, I don't know, a few minutes of screen time, and he says about maybe 2 lines, and it was like, I love how a character with such little screen time and such little to do is so loved by fans all around the world. And of course, we have the first introductions in this trilogy of Emperor Palpatine and Lando Calrissian. We don't see Emperor Palpatine in full in this movie. He's on the poster, like the official poster for Empire Strikes Back has Palpatine, and he looks like Ian McDiarmid's character that he did in the prequels and Return of the Jedi. But in this film, he's played by someone completely different. Well, in the original version, obviously the special edition they replaced it, but I've got the theatrical version. He's played by like one of the producer's wives or something, and he has like such a weird little voice, and that was kind of weird to me. But at the same time, it was like, it doesn't look entirely out of place for a guy that's so corrupted by the Force and is so evil, and that's another thing. With Lucas, his special edition changes usually really suck, but I don't really mind that one specifically because he looks like he did in the last one at least, and at least, you know, Palpatine is the character he's always been. So that one I didn't mind so much, but it was pretty funny seeing Palpatine played by a lady because he really doesn't look right. But yeah, and it's also the first introduction as well of Lando Calrissian, who is just the biggest snake in the entire galaxy. I mean, Lando may have redeemed himself, but he'll always be an asshole in my books. So he's the guy that rats out Han Solo and Princess Leia to Darth Vader, and obviously he comes to Cloud City. And this is where Han Solo gets frozen in carbonite, and we see for the first time that Darth Vader is not playing around. And Han Solo gets frozen and we think he's dead. He's obviously not because he's in the next movie. But the ending of this film just shows that the galaxy is in turmoil. You've got Han Solo frozen in carbonite, and Darth Vader is still on the run. And this is the first time when Luke and Darth Vader have their conflict. You've got like this little setup scene in Dagobah where Luke's training with Yoda and he's fighting like this sort of hallucination almost of Darth Vader, and he sort of cuts its head and the mask falls and like opens up and it's Luke's face inside. That was sort of foreshadowing for what we were about to see at that point. And everybody knows by now that Darth Vader is Luke Skywalker's father. There's not a single person in the world who doesn't. But if you were watching this back in the 80s when it first came out, it would have been like such a holy shit moment, because it was one of the biggest plot twists of all time. And we really feel for Luke when he's like, no! Even though they really did ruin it by putting a lot more than they needed to in the actual special edition. But yeah, the whole fight between Luke and Vader in this film is really cool. You know, you got them throwing down, and Luke's like proper going for it, and Vader's just like, doom, doom, doom. Because Vader doesn't give a crap, clearly, and Vader knows that he will win this no matter what, because he is a more powerful Sith Lord than Luke can ever possibly imagine. When they're throwing down, it is interesting to see Luke try and sort of win his way out of this, because he's barely a Jedi at this point. He's trained with Yoda for such a small amount of time, and you feel for Luke. You're like, I feel really bad for this dude, because he really wants to save his galaxy and he really wants to become this all-powerful Jedi, and this is the only thing really stopping him, apart from obviously the bigger threat in Palpatine and the Death Star number 2 that they're building. But you really do feel for Luke as a character, and then when Darth Vader reveals himself, you're just like sat there like, yeah, I really do feel for this guy now. Even though I've seen the movie a million times, the whole Vader I am your father reveal, it's so cool, it's so awesome, and it's the best thing they could have possibly done for this film. And that's why watching the prequels before watching the originals is a bad idea. You should just watch the originals, because if you watch the prequels first, it ruins every plot twist that this film gives you, and that's not a good thing. But yeah, obviously Vader cuts off Luke's hand, and he jumps down the whole chute in Cloud City and gets picked up by the Falcon. You've got Vader, who is victorious at this point, and he's going to go after Luke and convert him to the dark side. And you've got Han Solo frozen in carbonite, so everything seems just so dark. And it's one of the few Hollywood movies that you'll watch that has an ending that is dark and an ending that is an unhappy ending. And that's not very, it's not very often that you get that, especially for a sequel that's setting up another movie. Usually you have a happy ending and then the next movie starts off and everything's all bad again. But this movie is one of the few that has an unhappy ending, and it really is a great ending for this film because you're left guessing what's going to happen in the next one, and that's what I really love. I mean, nobody was prepared for what actually did happen in the next one, but I will talk about that in the next video. But overall, The Empire Strikes Back is one of the greatest movies of all time, definitely the greatest Star Wars movie of all time, and this is where Star Wars was really at its prime. And this is the one that really, it really emphasized the dark side to you and made you realize that they really are bad dudes. So yeah, Empire Strikes Back is one of the greatest movies of all time. Definitely watch it. Definitely check it out if you haven't already. But if you're watching this video, chances are you've already seen it. But yeah, Rogue One is now 3 weeks away, just under, or just over maybe, I can't remember. But I've booked tickets. Tickets are up to book now, so if you're planning to book for opening day, book now because they're going to sell out pretty fast. So yeah, thank you guys for watching this video. Let me know what you thought of Empire Strikes Back. Is it your favourite Star Wars film? And I will see you guys in the next video.